Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. And that is exactly what Eternal Midnight is going to be doing this entire month. Guys, welcome to Eternal Midnight. I'm Chad here with Santino. And over the course of May 2021, we are going to be going over every single live-action Star Trek film. So, before we dive into the actual movies themselves, Santino, I want to ask, what was your history with Star Trek before you started getting ready for this month?
Oh man, my history with Star Trek is not really that exciting because I never found Star Trek that interesting until I watched these movies. But I remember watching Wrath of Khan on TV. No, not Wrath of Khan. The other one, the new one, the Into Darkness. Into Darkness with Benedict Cumberbatch on TV. And I remember liking it a lot, so I bought the DVD and I watched it in full. And I actually really liked Into Darkness was my first full-length Star Trek movie. And then I watched Beyond.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I watched Beyond.
So you saw those before even the 09 movie?
Yeah, and then I watched the 09 movie last.
Wow.
Yeah, weird history with Star Trek.
Hey, fair enough. So my history, honestly, my history is hard. So when I was a kid, I would see it on TV every now and again, but I didn't really understand what I was watching because, I mean, as a kid, I was into, Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers, and I would really only see Star Trek when we'd be staying at a hotel. And, back in the day, hotels had real shitty cable. So it was it'd have almost nothing on besides local crap. So that's around the only time I would ever really watch Star Trek. And then I didn't really do anything with it until the 09 movie came out. I was like, okay, I really like the 09 movie. And then a friend of mine told me about the older movies. And so I watched a few of them, but I don't remember the exact order until I got the box set and basically made my way through a few of them. And then about 2013, this is when all of the shows were on Netflix. I basically sat down and over the course of 2 years, made my way through the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager.
Nice.
And it was when I finished Voyager, I was like, I am done with Star Trek for a while.
It's a heavy series.
It really was. It was wow, that was a lot to take in. And I mean, I'll say it, I like all 4 of the shows. They're all really good. I suggest them if for anyone out there who's looking for something new to dive into, because it's not for everyone. It's not. I wouldn't say Star Trek has the wide appeal of Star Wars, and here's where I'm about to get crucified. But I honestly like Star Trek better than Star Wars as a whole. And it's we'll see where you land when we finish. But I enjoy the writing. I like these characters and their adventures, and I just like the way Starfleet and the universe of space is in Star Trek almost more than what we get out of Star Wars. I mean, with Star Wars, the first 3 movies were good, but the prequels were meh and the sequels were shit. And it's out of all the Star Trek movies, I'd only say a couple aren't that good. I still have yet to rewatch the TNG movies. It's been a few years, but it's to the best of my memory, I don't remember hating any of them. But I guess we'll see when we get to those. So let's jump right into it. We're going to jump right into Star Trek, the motion picture, which came out in 1979. Now, Santino, before I jump into your opinion on it, I just want to kind of give a little bit of a background. So the original show ran from 66 to 69. And this is, you got to remember, back when, let's just say a new episode of a show comes out. If you missed it, you missed it. You don't know when or if you're ever going to see that episode ever again. TV and all that was very different back then. So some of the things which I guarantee I know are going to come up with some of the issues you've had. I'm not making this excuse for the film. I'm just saying for the fans, there were some things that it's like a lot of people had only watched reruns for a decade. So it was like I'm gonna give a little bit of slack, I guess, on the nostalgia factor for some of this movie, but on a critical level, we will be totally honest about it. So Santino, Star Trek: The Motion Picture. What are your thoughts?
It was really slow. And really like, wow, not a great first impression. I was like, wow, this is like super slow. Like I wanted to fall asleep like half the time. I was like, what is this movie? Because like, okay, and let's be fair, all right. I usually am more like, I like the explosions. I like, when blasters fire. But all of these times they were just talking and talking and talking and talking. And I like the the I like the world building they have there. I mean, like you get Kirk and you get Spock, and Spock's undergoing the how do you say it, the Kolinar ritual.
Yes.
That's how you say it, all right? Yeah. So sorry, I'm hoping I didn't piss off anyone off.
No, you're no. There's a lot of stuff when it comes to Vulcan, Klingon, Romulan language that. Yeah, trust me. If you mispronounce it, it shouldn't be held against anyone.
Yeah, and the thing is, there's some familiar stuff that I like that I recognize. Like, okay, the Klingons are like, I know who they are, and I know that, okay, the Federation, that makes sense. Like, okay, yeah, because they're exploring space. That makes sense. But like a lot of these elements, in my opinion, like the very first, were very, very unfamiliar to me. I was like, like I'm gonna have a hard time to grasp this kind of concept. So like, forgive me if I'm not the best when remembering all, because there's like a lot of terms and a lot of like characters in this movie. It's a lot of like to take in, which is weird because I usually am able to take things easily, but with Star Trek it was like, this is hard. But
yeah, it's since it was your first time, because like you said, before this you'd never seen a single episode of the original show.
No,
correct?
I have not.
Okay, so see, that makes sense, because the way I view it is I'm of two minds of this one. I agree, it is slow, but in a way I see why they did it. Like when Scotty and Kirk were first heading towards the Enterprise, and remember just how long that was. Remember that?
Oh yeah, it was way.
So you need to remember. So this is the one thing, and like I said, I'm making more of a nostalgic excuse as opposed to a critical excuse. Again, most people only watched Star Trek on these little TVs they had. So to see the Enterprise like that up on a big screen in a movie theater, that was probably like a huge selling point. Like, we get to see Kirk and Spock on the big screen. So it's like Star Trek fans flocked to this movie. And it's like, in retrospect, it was probably like, look at it in all its glory, seeing the Enterprise, on a bigger budget. But it's like, this is, you know what? It's funny. This is probably the only one out of the first six. I feel like this movie has not aged well at all.
It really seems like, okay, and I know nothing about the TV show. I know nothing about the lore there. I have not seen it. It really feels like this movie was made for TV fans. And that's why I couldn't get into it, because like I've heard from like other reviewers that Star Trek is really about discussion, about exploration, about debate, about looking for other ways other than violence. It's not like Luke Skywalker taking out his lightsaber and hitting Darth Vader because the kids want to see that. No, it's a lot of discussion, a lot of talking, a lot of speaking and debate, which is fine. It was just like really hard to get used to it first, because they're all using these. Because for me personally, they're all using these terms where it's like I cannot like it's hard for me to grasp like certain terms unless they use it like a lot. So it's like even with like TV shows I watch, like even in Attack on Titan, they do like these other stuff. Like I cannot wait. What did you say? Especially when it's in Japanese, because like I can't, I really can't. But same with this. It's like I have to like okay, focus, pay attention, because like I go on my phone and I go back and I have no idea what the hell they're talking about. You know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean, and it's like, so it's like this movie's very odd. It's like I think it had, out of all the movies, it had like, I mean, it had a large budget, $44 million in 1979. That's not peanuts. And I mean, it brought in money. I mean, it made 139 million, so it made back, but it wasn't like the gangbusters I'm sure Paramount was hoping for.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, I can kind of see why, because it's like, this seems like the type of movie you might have gone in, but then again, I don't know. Like, I wasn't there. I haven't spoken to any Star Trek fans of that era who grew up watching the show and then got, I don't know the hype that some of these people probably had, being like, holy shit, we're getting a Star Trek film in theaters. And this was after Star Wars, by the way. So it's like, to them, this was probably like a dream come true. Like, almost, maybe like the same way it is for like Transformers fans or something when they, the Michael Bay movies or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it's like, so it's like this movie, it's just, yes, it is very slow. But here's the weird thing. As slow as it is, I still see quality in it. But
it's definitely quality.
The problem I have is it seemed like they focused too much on, we want to show off the special effects, which you have to admit it, the special effects, there was a lot of them, and a lot of them really probably weren't needed. They probably could have slashed the budget quite a bit with some of it.
Yeah.
Like, remember all the flashy effects when they were first entering the Voyager probe and Spock was like flying through space towards it?
Yeah.
Like, that was probably a ton of money of the budget.
That transporter going bad was probably also in the budget also.
Well, and it's hard because it's like, there's practical effects usually aren't anywhere near as much as CGI. Well, some can be, but it was like, and that's the thing, is it's like some of the CGI or whatever it was probably wasn't needed, but some of it, like, honestly, I think the V'ger cloud, I thought that looked pretty damn good.
The cloud was
cool.
The cloud was good for the time, I gotta admit. Especially when it shot that plasma out of the ships and destroyed each one, those Klingon ships at the very beginning.
Yep, the birds of prey. And you know what? I'll still always say it. I always think practical effects look great when done right. And I will give it, I think when Star Trek uses practical effects, I think it almost always looks really good. I will definitely give them that. Yeah,
it does. It does when Star Trek uses practical effects, I am impressed. Like I like, even like okay, I'm gonna pull from Jurassic Park, like that T-Rex that they did at the very beginning. Like there's a reason why that still holds up. It's because they actually built the damn thing. There were no like CGI T-Rexes. That's why the T-Rex in Jurassic Park looks better than Jurassic World T-Rex.
Yeah. And even to jump ahead, like, just for a brief second when talking practical effects, in Search for Spock, when the Enterprise blows up, it looked real because it actually was something real being blown up.
Well, that was real?
That wasn't CGI. That was a model being blown up.
Damn.
Yeah, see what I mean? It's like, the human eye can see CGI. We always can. But practicals, we obviously know there's no ship that size that went kabloom. But we also knew that wasn't CGI.
Yeah, that's why, that does make sense. Hey, I didn't know that.
So I guess, yeah, it's cool, isn't it?
That's cool. That's really cool.
So I guess let's kind of go over the story, I guess, real quick.
Yeah, we can talk about the effect and like the. Oh, by the way, the warp speed was actually really cool. Like I was used to like the big like boom like with Into Darkness, where they have like. But now it's like it's a lot smoother. It's not like a giant explosion before. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, exactly. I thought it. Yeah, I think it looks great.
Yeah, I'm just putting it out there. It's like there's a lot of things I I was not used to. I was shocked. Like Kirk is very different. So like going to the story, Kirk is very different from his Kelvin timeline Kirk. It's a very different take on his character, which I
Well, you got to. So here's the thing: the Kirk we saw in the Kelvin timeline was both before the 5-year mission and in beyond. It was during the 5-year mission. This is Kirk years after the 5-year mission.
oh okay.
So this is an older Kirk that we never got to in the Kelvin timeline.
Right, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the story was interesting for the time because of the reveal of V'ger being Voyager 6. But it's almost like nowadays, if did you have to look it up or did you have any idea what Voyager 6 was?
I had to look it up.
Well, no, that's fair
Sorry.
enough because you got to remember, Voyager 6 launched in it launched in the 70s and the 80s, dude. So I was more like asking that like for like now. Yeah, it was topical then, but now it's almost like people are going to be like, what the fuck's Voyager?
Yeah.
It's like, what was the Voyager program?
Yeah, I had no idea what was it. So like apparently Voyager 6 was an actual deep space probe launched by NASA.
Yes.
So like that
Yes.
actually was a thing. It's like, oh,
Yes.
okay. So like they're pulling off from real history. Okay. That was cool.
Yeah, and it's like I thought it was interesting like that. It went through like a black hole or something. It went to a planet of machines who were curious about what it was, turned it into a thinking, learning computer, and sent it back out. And I was like, you know what? And that's what I will give almost all Star Trek movies is most of them, well, yeah, most, they tend to have a little bit of, I would say, smartness to them, where it's a little more thought is put into what to tell instead of just a simple story, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they executed it well because, yeah, this one took me a couple nights to get through because it doesn't grab me and engage me. I'll say it's a quality film, but it's a slow quality film from the 70s.
It is a very slow quality film from the 70s. But
Yeah, it's like
that's not bad. That's not bad. It's just if you like this movie, no problem. I just didn't. Just coming from a guy who was watching Star Trek for the first time, I did not find it a very good first impression. But that's just me. Like, what the hell do I know?
No, that's
big Star Trek fan. Like, if you watch all the
I can't blame you.
Yeah, if you watch all the TV shows and you think that this is a good movie, dude, I have no problems with that whatsoever.
Yeah, it's just, well, the problem was nobody at the time knew, and I'm going off of another podcaster friend who he's covered Star Trek in the past. I'm going off what he said. They didn't really know how to do it. They were like, how do we do this? And it just kind of felt like a bigger budget, a bigger budgeted episode almost, if you think about it. Like, it feels like trim this down, get rid of a few things, get it down to about an hour, and this could have just been a regular old episode, which that's not always a bad thing. But for a theatrical film, it felt like they were more banking off of, look at the flashy effects and hey, you get to see the Enterprise on the big screen, which again, for the time, genius idea.
Yeah, it is a genius idea.
40 years later, no, probably not a good idea because now I can't watch it with the same eyes that people in 79 did. So, anything else for Star Trek?
I do like the quote of Spock that he says, This feeling is beyond Vijay's comprehension. No meaning, no hope, and Jim, no answers. It's asking questions. Is that all I am? Is there nothing more? It's like, damn, I love that quote. Love that quote. It's like, that's deep. Because like, when Spock attempts mind meld with Vijay, that was like, oh shit, like, is he gonna communicate with the machine? And then he apparently, for all intents and purposes, Vijay achieved Kolinar, flawless logic and limitless knowledge. It's like, damn. So Spock is like, so like this guy this Vijay who has flawless logic and limitless knowledge is still asking for more, which is, I think I found that very, very cool. I like that concept actually.
Yeah, I will give it. That's what I'm saying. It's got some depth to it, like that at the end.
Yeah.
Answer Vijay. No, I will not answer Vijay. Answer Vijay. No, I will not. It's like, yeah, what's a machine? What's Vijay going to do? Destroy them and never get the answer? Because that's its logic. It knows I can demand it, but if I kill them, then I'll never know. So it was stuck in its own like paradox, really.
Yeah, it's like when you achieve infinite power, infinite knowledge, you still have questions, which I find very cool. It's like, yeah, there's never not enough knowledge. It's like, it's too big for even like the smartest computer ever. So yeah,
Star Trek. Like we said, good, but just it's the slowness that I think kills it.
Yeah,
and just the lack of action. That's the problem. It's like we're not action hounds yelling, screaming.
Yeah,
we need booms and explosions, but it's like we needed a little bit more than the pretty much nothing that we got. But no, overall, I think I like it a little more than you do, but like in an overall ranking, it's right down near the bottom.
Right.
Moving on to
Star
Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. This came out 3 years later. You know what? Go into your history of this one.
History?
Yeah, remember remember what I gave you some advice on before you watched it?
Okay, so a little bit of background, a little bit of behind the scenes knowledge. Chad told me that you should watch Star Trek, the episode Space Seed, before you watch Wrath of Khan. So I was like, okay, yeah, sure, why not? Like,
I did that for 2 reasons. One, so he could see the background of who Khan was, and 2, I also knew it would help him be able to understand what Star Trek was like in the 60s. So it's like a glimpse into the old story while watching the prequel basically to this movie, even though I know it's not technically a prequel, but anyone could probably watch this and then consider Space Seed a prequel. But anyways, go ahead.
So yeah, I watched Space Seed and it just made Wrath of Khan infinitely better. Because I understand completely why Khan is like this. So like brief like summary of Space Seed. So they fight Khan and then they lock Khan in like stasis, right? Is that how it is?
No, they beam them down to the planet. You're thinking of Into Darkness.
Right. See, that's why I'm confused. So they beam Khan down to the planet, and then the planet next to Khan's planet explodes, which kills Khan's wife and a lot of his people. It's like, oh, okay. That now I understand why you're pissed. Because yeah, I'd be pissed too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Wrath of Khan, in my opinion, of the 6 I've watched so far, Wrath of Khan's my favorite because 1, I love a good revenge story. Number 2, Spock's death was really like shit that hurt. Like,
because you got to again put yourself back in the shoes of Star Trek fans from the 60s watching Mr. Spock die. Imagine, and again, this is back before the internet, no rumors of next movies or anything. It was, you're watching a movie and it's like, wait, one of the big characters is dead. What just happened?
That was so out of no. well, I'm sure back then it was so out of nowhere. But to me, it's like, okay, yeah, I know he's gonna die because they said that Into Darkness paralleled Wrath of Khan. So I was like, oh, so in Into Darkness, it's Kirk who fake dies and then gets revived with super blood, which I will not get into until like later. And later because it's like that was dumb. But in here it's like, oh no, Spock got killed, and man, it really hurt when he said the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, which is of course his like famous line. And like his hand was pressing against the glass.
Mm-hmm.
He said it, right? I'm not making it up.
No, he did.
He like, yeah, like I remember that he was saying that. So like he was his hand was against Kirk's against the glass, and he just slumped over and died. It was like, wow. So and Spock is my, okay, I know this like sounds so basic, but Spock really is my favorite character in the Star Trek movies.
Nice.
Because he's so cool. Like he has logic, but in that moment, like for a guy who's like always like a robot, or like, you know, always logic has to be forefront. Him falling to pieces and having like his emotions pour out in its own way at his death was so heartbreaking. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I don't, and it's one of those things like, like you get choked up watching Tony die in Endgame. Imagine like,
yeah,
you know, like 30 years from now, generations younger than us watching it and hearing one of them say that to you, you'll be like, oh, it brings me back to when I first saw that in theaters. And it's like, that's how, like, exactly. Star Trek fans out there hearing that have got to, like, it's got to bring them back to seeing this in theaters and seeing that and being like, my favorite character just died. And it's like, he's gone.
This must have been so heartbreaking.
But yeah, it's look at that. We're only gushing over like the last like 5 minutes of the movie, and it's like the whole movie to me is just filled with pure quality from beginning to end. I forgot how much I loved this movie when I rewatched it for this. It is so damn good.
Suck this movie up. It's really good. It's really damn good.
Yeah, it's just like you said. It's like it's the revenge story, but it's also like some movies are good because they're told well, but it's like this one, we like these characters. We had TV seasons building them up for those that watched it, and for you just jumping right in, not knowing these characters as well as some others, you were still able to enjoy it. That shows the power of the writing, and that's what helped this movie was the writing was improved and the story was improved. I mean, this was a complete 180 from Star Trek the Motion Picture, wasn't it? It was nothing like that film. And at the same time, it's like the power of the villain. Khan was amazing as a villain.
Ricardo Montalban, I'm sorry. I now see why people don't like Into Darkness. Because Benedict Cumberbatch, as good as he is, could match Ricardo Montalban as...
I love his like Shakespearean villain where it's like he's got these big grandiose speeches and the way he talks is like over the top, but it works for him. And it's like he's so fun to watch because like even his like number 2 in command was like, sir, we have a ship, let's just go. And he's like, no, Kirk dies above anything else. His own pride and ego is what wound up causing him to lose his own life.
Yeah,
it's like that is such a good villain.
If Khan was like a little more self-controlled, he probably could have won.
Yeah, but it was his own. He got himself killed.
Yeah, and honestly, like I just find this super gross. The Seti eels are like, fuck. Were they like? It's disgusting.
All the ones that go in the ears and control the Chekhov and Terrell.
Yeah, like what the fuck? Like I
but again, I love 80s practical effects.
Yeah, I know, but like it's still gross.
No, I'm saying like as a phrase. I'm saying like it wasn't like CGI. I'm sorry. I love practical effects when they're good. And I agree. That was like geez, imagine being a kid watching this movie and seeing that.
Yeah.
Do you think that would have scarred you?
You know, it's the exact same thing of like watching The Mummy and seeing those scarabs like go into the brain and eat the brain. It's like that. It's like that for me.
No, I don't. But you know what character is one of my favorites in this movie, and I thought she really helped make it was Saavik. The new
Vulcan, right?
Yeah, played by, I was trying to remember her name, Kirstie Alley. That's right. I liked her character because it was like we got like a younger generation character compared to all these, older characters who were all young in the original show's run. So it was like, and I liked having her there because like she was able to show like the youth of trying to like that the beginning when they. What did you think of that, by the way? The Kobayashi Maru test at the beginning of the movie.
I love the Kobayashi Maru test. That was awesome.
How cool was it seeing it actually played out the way it was supposed to without Kirk cheating it the way he did in the 2009 movie?
Yeah, I know. Cause like, okay, I know some of the Kobayashi Maru tests where, it's designed to fail. Like no matter what you do, it's designed to fail, right?
Yes, it's there to put a captain in a life or death situation and see how they're going to react. It's not designed for you to find a way to beat it. It's there to see how is this captain going to react when it's life or death. What are they going to do? How are they going to react? What are they going to be like? And that's how I love it. Even Kirk says it at the end when he talked about it, where he's like, I cheated. I reprogrammed it to win. And it's like, they even said it to him. He's like, so you've never faced death. You've never faced a no-win situation. And they hit the no-win situation. Spock died because of it. So it's like, yes, he saved the ship, but they lost Spock.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same thing with the Kelvin timeline where where Kirk is like is faced with that same no-win situation in Into Darkness, where he has to do the nuclear reactor, but he's the one getting killed. Mm-hmm. That's exactly the no-win situation, but of course they retcon that with the super blood. But other than that, I mean, like, okay, I get it. So yeah, the Kobayashi Maru test is basically a test of your humanity. You know, what are you willing to sacrifice, right? So like, I do like that.
Yeah, it was cool, and I like it because again, imagine seeing this in theaters back in the day when you saw everyone die. Spock, McCoy, all of them get killed in the Kobayashi Maru test. Watching them all die.
Like, I'm sure that would be like, what the fuck is happening?
Like the movie just started and they killed off these characters, and then like that, it opens and Kirk comes walking in. And by the way, that's something we forgot to mention. I love these uniforms compared to the trash they were wearing in the motion picture. In the motion picture, they looked like they were in like pajamas or something. In this one, these are like actually military outfits. Yeah, I don't know. What did you think of them?
I mean, like, to me, like they look like the same uniforms. In my opinion, it's like, well, I don't really see any difference. But like, if you've watched a series way longer than I have, so maybe I caught something that you caught something that I didn't.
They just felt a little more professional, if that makes sense. Like,
okay,
and
that makes sense.
Like, I think an easy way to say it. I'll send you some pictures later of the difference between the season 1 of TNG outfits and the later outfits, where it's like even the beginning of the Next Generation, their outfits are like these weird one pieces, and then later they turn more into like the jackets, and they look way more like professional and almost militaristic.
Right.
But yeah, that's way farther down the timeline. But yeah, so I think what works about this movie far better than the motion picture is just it keeps you moving. This movie is exciting from beginning to end, I think.
It's like, oh, okay, this is what Star Trek is also about. While there's also debate and like peace and talks. There's also action, which I really did like. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
Khan is an interesting villain like to have, and I really do think that it is one of he is I think he's motivated by revenge, which again I can relate to that. Like, we all have wanted revenge against someone, so like Khan getting revenge on like the person who killed his wife. I mean, like indirectly,
Mm-hmm.
is great motivation, in my opinion. I really do like it.
Yeah, and I feel like Kirk also massively grew because of this film. Like,
Oh
remember
yeah,
the
he
movie
did.
started with him like, am I too old for this? He's like realizing his humanity, and it's like then he finds out he has a son, and he has to face death, and he loses Spock, and it's just it just overall, like, I honestly, this is gonna sound really weird. I have no flaws with this film. I can't name anything I didn't like about it.
So basically, this is basically like Mission Impossible Fallout of the Star Trek movie.
I mean, can you? I mean, maybe we'll see if we feel the same. But I mean, can you really think of any major flaws
No,
this
no, no,
film
no, no.
has?
I agree. There's none because it's proper sequel. The stakes are amped up. The how do I say this? The stakes are amped up. The choices that they make are harder. It's not anymore just like a VG computer that's an animated. This is an actual guy with revenge, and um he's willing to
I mean, shit, he's trying to steal
kill.
the Genesis device and use that as a weapon. I mean, that's pretty. And imagine it, because Khan is smart. Khan is basically a superhuman. If he'd gotten the Genesis device, I guarantee he would have found a way to duplicate it. And as we see in Search for Spock, that he literally could have held the galaxy hostage if he'd had something like the Genesis device. So I agree. The stakes were way up there.
And I think the Battle of Mutant Nebula is like one of the best like things put on film of a sci-fi thing, because it's really interesting. It's a cat and mouse where they're trying to shoot each other, and it's like, damn. And the Reliant manages to destroy the port torpedo tube of the Enterprise, which is like, shit. Like, it's one of those things. It's like, wow, people can actually die, and I wouldn't be on. I wouldn't want to be on that ship if I was in their shoes. I'd probably like, be me somewhere else, please.
And I thought it was such a beautiful ending. After Spock passed away,
when they sent
they send him to the Genesis planet, and it's like the music's playing. It's just the effect. Oh, I just love the way it looked, and it was just like such a bittersweet ending. The Genesis planet is forming. We've lost Spock, but the day has been won because Khan has been defeated, and it's like we've won. It's exactly like you said, like Spock said in Into Darkness. We won, but at what price? At what cost?
Yeah.
And it's just, yes, this is one of those movies to me. It's like, it had been a long time since I'd watched it. I forgot how good it was. And to me, this is easily the best Star Trek film. Like, hands down.
It really
and
is.
to me, it's like, it brought me back to remembering how much I loved this. And it's like, this massively shot up in like one of my favorite of like the sci-fi genre easily.
I agree. I definitely agree.
So, closing thoughts on Wrath of Khan.
I out of the 6 I've watched, it's my favorite. And I know, it's like, oh, you're so basic, Sandy. Well, yeah, it's the first time I'm fucking watching it. Okay, so come on, let me some slack. All right, I think it's the best because it is interesting. The revenge story is nice. Spock's death is impactful, even though I knew it was gonna happen. So man, there's nothing more to say. It's that, damn. Like, I think when I go in my rankings, this is gonna be my favorite one.
Yep, same. It's like I'm already admitting it. We're only at 2 out of 13, but I'm already saying, or 12. what is it, 12, 13? Yeah, 12. Why did I say 13? Oh, it is 13. Keep getting it wrong. I'm an idiot. But yeah, it's like I already know we're only at 2 out of 13, but I know it's my favorite, and that just says a lot about this franchise because I still need to rewatch the Next Generation movies. So we're gonna wrap up this week, guys. We've got a nice long month ahead of us. Plenty of episodes coming. So thank you for tuning in. In a few days, you'll get a chance to listen to us go over Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, and Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. So guys, thanks for tuning in. Chat out.
Santino, see you soon.